So apparently some Canadian liberals are having a hard time getting into America, so much so that they've been denied entry into the United States. Now, I don't fully know if this person, full disclosure, is actually a liberal. But we're going to take a look at the story, and I'll leave that up to you to decide. I've made my conclusion that this person kind of seems a little bit liberal-esque for doing this, and then we got to take a look at what's going on with how the United States boycott is still hitting American tourism, apparently. So there's lots to take a look at in this video, and I do hope you stick around for the full thing. All I ask in return is for you guys to hit the like button. And without further ado, let's get into this. Felt like a bit of abuse of power. Canadian denied entry into the United States. A 20-year-old Canadian booked to fly south to visit her grandparents was recently refused entry into the United States by American customs officer at Toronto Pearson's International Airport. This is a very unique story. With a look at bewilderment on her face, Julia, who was asked us to not share her last name, told CTV that the customs officer thought she was illegally immigrating to the United States. It felt like a bit of abuse of power, honestly. Oh my goodness. I feel like now she's just been banned from trying to enter the U.S. I felt like a bit of abuse of power, said her mother, Kate, who was shocked to receive a phone call from her daughter when she was stranded at the airport. She said she purchased a round-trip airfare to Orlando with Porter Airlines and was looking forward to a 6-week trip to Florida to reset and spend some quality time with her grandparents. The 20-year-old, who was on break from school until spring, like many young Canadians, couldn't find a job. So she decided to take advantage of the time off and head south. But her plans were quickly grounded by customs officers. Okay, so before we watch this video, I need to share my own experience with traveling to the United States when I lived in a van several years ago. Yes, down by the river, mostly down by the ocean. Lived in a van. My entire life was in my van. And I had one dog or two dogs at the time. And I go from Vancouver down to White Rock, and I'm trying to get into Washington, right? Just north of Seattle. And they say, okay, so like, are you working? I was like, nah, no. Are you going to school? No. How much money do you have? Like a little bit of money, not like anything crazy. Okay. Well, this is kind of weird because we don't know if you're actually going to return back to Canada. I was like, what? I'm not trying to I'm not trying to just boondock in America for the rest of my life. Like, I didn't even cross my mind. And so on the spot, I had to speak to like a couple different border agents from America and like justify why I was only going for a certain amount of time and like I would come back. Right now, that was a very unique situation. Like, I wasn't working. I was not in school. I had like no ties, now that I think about it, to like actually come back to Canada other than just family and friends, and like my life was here, but I lived in a van. And so I can understand the situation that this person is in, right? No job, is a student, but probably put up like a lot of sass, and the American agents were just like, fuck you, you're not getting into this country. So that's a real thing that some people actually go through. Now, the difference between someone being allowed access into America versus being denied, like what happened to this chick, is probably attitude. Honestly, like if she's a student, then she would be coming back to school. If she didn't have a job, that's fine. Like, students travel all the time who are jobless, right? Because you're a student. Not a lot of students work. Well, now it's different, but back in the day, not a lot of students worked full time or part time while in school. But let's take a look at her side of the story.
A controversial decision at U.S. Customs has left one 20-year-old stranded and her family fuming.
It felt like a bit of an abuse of power.
On Monday, her bag packed, 20-year-old Julia, whose family asked we not share her last name, arrived at Toronto's Pearson Airport U.S. Customs pre-clearance counter. Valid Canadian passport in hand, she waited an hour and a half in line before meeting a customs officer who began to ask her questions.
They thought it was suspicious, I guess, and decided to flag me and bring me to a different room.
Julia had a round-trip ticket booked with Porter Airlines to visit her grandparents in Orlando, Florida, just as she had done in February.
I was starting to hyperventilate a bit, and then they tell me that I'm denied entrance to America. They thought that I was illegally immigrating to the United States.
Julia, do you have any intentions of immigrating to the United States?
No, I did not.
U.S. immigration takes their orders from the top. And when there's a more anti-immigrant sentiment in the country, they have all the tools to use their discretion in a negative manner.
This Homeland Security checklist, completed by a U.S. Customs officer, claims that Julia didn't provide proof of a return ticket home.
I told them that I had a return.
Okay, so there you go. You've got the checklist right there. Okay, sufficient funds, confirmed return date, income tax forms, utility bills, right? So recent phone, all those things, address, telephone number where you can be reached at in the United States. So like, there's no real reason why somebody who has every intention of coming back to Canada would be fully denied entry into America under this, other than the fact that you're either being an absolute menace to the border agents and they're just like, okay, I'm not dealing with this, go screw yourself, which is within their discretion, whether you agree or disagree with that. You are going into another country with a different set of rules. Just because we border America doesn't give you the right to just be a total asshole to them the way you would be to, I don't know, maybe a Tim Hortons or McDonald's employee in your local town. Not saying that one is right and one is wrong. They're both very much wrong to do, but very interesting story.
Claims that Julia didn't provide proof of a return ticket home.
I told them that I had a return ticket, and I told them the return date.
Customs also requested proof of employment and schooling in Canada, but the 20-year-old is currently unemployed and on a break from school until the spring.
The story is a true story. And
yeah, so if she showed her enrollment or like a letter of enrollment or a submission of wanting to re-enroll in school in spring, then this wouldn't have mattered.
makes sense for that cohort. But U.S. immigration is suspicious, and they get full discretion to decide how they're going to respond.
Kate, why is it important for you to share your daughter's story with Canadians?
I hope that other people aren't going to face this. If our story helps any family avoid this, I mean, I think, a lot of people are boycotting travel to the U.S., and I'm all for it.
Immigration lawyers we spoke with say Canadians are now being asked more frequently to provide additional proof of their travel plans when arriving at U.S. Customs.
Okay, so I just took my family to Hawaii, right? And it was not a problem. I had an address I was going to, and I had a return ticket. We've got a life established in Canada. So clearly I'm returning to Canada, and the questions weren't even that bad, but that probably had to do with the fact that when I went up to the agents, I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was so funny. The kids were crying, and I'm just standing there giving the passport, and I just kind of started laughing just because of all the noise that was going on. If you're a parent, you totally get it. And the guy looks at me and he starts laughing too because he's a parent and he knows what I'm going through. And we bonded over that. My wife's like, "What's so funny?" He looks at me and he's like, "Whoa," and I'm like, it was a whole thing. So again, there's no real reason why you should be denied access. People forget that America's a whole other country. Like, that's the thing about living in Canada, right? It's weird. Like, if you go to your local, you get on your local bus, you just pay money, you get on your bus, even if it's for the first time, it doesn't feel that foreign because you're within your own country, your own town, it's familiar. But when you cross into America, you're crossing into another country, like not just any country, like the world's biggest supermarket. So yeah, of course, there's a shit ton of questions and there's a big process that has to be asked. Like there's a whole rigmarole that goes on. And if you don't comply, if you give them attitude, if you're a bit of a nuisance, then they're just going to deny you entry. You don't have the right to go into America. So as much as I feel, empathy or can understand that how shitty it is to be denied entry into the States, that's probably a big life lesson for that 20-year-old unemployed person's on a break from school chick is experiencing. So I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about this story. Let me know your guys' funny border crossing stories if you guys have any down below, and I'll be sure to try and read them. And anyways, hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Don't be an idiot at the border. Don't be an idiot at the border.